Well, good morning, everybody. I'd like to kind of run down what we're looking at as far as that engine written assessment that I sent out to you guys last week to get done. Going over the answer sheet, we're looking at the written performance that you guys did. Of course, obviously, we weren't able to do the hands-on portion of it because of where we're at today, and hopefully everything is going to transpire pretty good, but I don't see us going to return it anytime soon at this point. You were told in the news, you've been watching the news, that pretty much Alamo College is going to be completely closed as far as returning for the semester, as far as students returning. So anyhow, we're going to get into the written part of the assessment. You will have one for Module 3, and then try and shoot one in there for Module 4 as well. But on Module 2 here, going over the worksheet or the answer sheet here that I have for the your written lab assessment that we were supposed to be taking care of. Again, you still are going to get 30% of points regardless if you're not able to do the hands-on competition, simply because of the fact we can't do that hands-on. But anyway, going on the written part here, listed 3 symptoms of engine mechanical problems and the possible cause. 1, engine runs rough. What's causing it? Well, low cylinder compression can cause that. Another one was engine lacks power. You can have late mechanical timing that can cause that, caused by a jump timing chain or timing belt. Smoke coming out of the tailpipe. Look at coolant, oil, or excessive fuel in the combustion chamber that could be causing that. Okay. Next question was list 2 causes of low compression. We got high mileage wear, piston ring compression wear, exhaust valve not sealing properly that can cause low compression. Okay. Next question, blue smoke is a sign that oil is getting to the combustion chamber. What type of fault would lead to this type of failure? Well, leaking valve stem seals. We have leaking valve stem seals, or worn valve stem seals, or cracked valve stem seals that will cause oil to leak into the combustion chamber. Okay. Excessive motor oil, overfilling it could be another thing. That's why we talked about in the maintenance part earlier, before we get off on break, about not overfilling the oil when we had the lubrication section that we were going over. And of course, if you have excessive valve guide to stem clearance, that would also cause more oil to get into the combustion chamber. We will be doing a demo on that. I have a cylinder head over here that we'll be looking at doing next video. That way you can see how we can actually remove the valve from the cylinder head, and we're going to check and go through the process of doing the valve stem to guide clearance. White smoke coming out of the tailpipe is a sign that coolant is getting into the combustion chamber. Okay, what can cause that? Well, blown head gasket in between the water jackets that are leaking coolant into the combustion chamber, and we'll see white steam coming out of the tailpipe. Next question, list 2 causes that would cause the engine to make a light metallic clicking noise. Of course, excessive valve train part wear, and then of course we have low oil pressure that can cause it. Okay, power balance test. On this one, it was a multiple answer type of question. What is the test used for? It's to locate a fault in the cylinder in a group of cylinders when you do a power balance test. What do I do to conduct the test? The basic outline: I'm going to connect the hand stool, hand scanner, go into the DLC connector. Once you go to the DLC connector, you're going to program the scanner, go into special functions, and then you'll go into cylinder power balance test. What is normal reading? The engine RPM should drop when it initiates it within 3 milliseconds or 5 milliseconds of each other on the cylinder wise. What is an abnormal reading? When there's no change in the RPM. Okay. Compression test. What is it used for? It's used to determine that the cylinder can produce enough compression during a power stroke. Okay. How do I do to conduct it? Well, basically removing the spark plugs. Ignition, the primary ignition system is disabled. You're going to block the airway if applicable. If you have electronic throttle control, you can't do that. Don't do that. You'll buy a throttle control actuator. And then we're going to crank the engine 5 engine revolutions. Okay, so the engine should not be starting when you do this type of particular test. Okay, what is a normal reading? when all cylinders within 20 to 25% of each other. That's what normal reading is. What is an abnormal reading? When it's greater than 25% or under 100 psi. The next question was cylinder leak down test. What is the test used for? It's to pinpoint and locate a leak in a cylinder with low compression. Okay. What do I got to do to conduct the test? Number one, bring the piston up at top dead center. Both valves are closed. Okay. You're going to install the gauge, calibrate it. Okay. Hook up the adapter to it and record your reading. Okay. What is a normal reading? Between 0 to 10% is normal. Okay. What is an abnormal reading? Greater than 30%. Okay. If it's greater than 30%, then we're going to listen for air escaping the throttle body actuator, indicating something going on with an intake valve. We're going to look for the exhaust side of it. If we have air escaping the exhaust, then it's an exhaust valve. If we have the air escaping out of the old dipstick tube or the old filler cap, take it off and you hear air escaping out of it, then we know we have piston rings that are probably collapsed in that particular instance. Okay. Next question indicates what is the purpose of a wet compression test? And that's basically determining if the piston rings are worn on a cylinder with low compression. So we have low compression. We're going to squirt a little bit of oil, a couple of tablespoons full of oil, and redo the compression test. And the reading goes up considerably, then we know it's piston rings. If it stays the same, then we know it's valve train. Okay. What is a normal engine manifold vacuum reading? We talked about it in the class several times. We need to have it 18 steady. Okay, 18 steady. What type of engine fault would cause a vacuum gauge reading to fluctuate at high RPMs, and even actually when it's at start, in the start position between 12 to 17, and that would be valve springs. Okay, something going on with the valve train area, either valve springs or valve guides. We look at the vacuum gauge readings on that particular chapter on engine comprehensive diagnostics. We kind of talked about the vacuum readings, kind of told you to look at the vacuum readings for multiple areas and multiple symptom problems. Continue to do that because you'll see that when you're diagnosing engine mechanical rough idle concerns. Okay, that ends up on module 2 here. What I want to cover right now is on module 3, we're going to get into that on chapter 2 and 3. Kind of talking about certain tools that we have here on page 30 in your book. There are various different types of tools that we use in the field. Engine stands, we have those obviously to hook up the engine to it. When we pull an engine out of a vehicle, we need to put on a stand to continue the disassembly process. When we disassemble the engine, number one, we have to make sure that we do it at room temperature. Do not start to disassemble an engine when it's hot. It could warp some issues with bolts and fasteners. You can warp a head, you can warp a block, especially if it's aluminum. So we need to keep it at room temperature, number one. Number two, the other thing that you need to understand is we need to do it in a detorquing sequence. So from cylinder heads, normally detorquing it from outside in, torquing it from inside out. On main bearing caps, as far as crankshaft goes, we go from the outside in. When we torque it, we go inside out. And again, we'll get a chance to look at doing that. I'll probably wind up going to the shop, and that's later on in module 4 when we get into doing that with the whole engine assembly. We will do the cylinder head sequence port torque coming up in this module, which when I get a chance to go to the school, I'll actually do a demonstration on that on one of the engines over there. So a couple of things we look at. Of course, we got piston pliers, piston ring expanders. Of course, those are the ones that are on page 33. You'll see those right there. Those are used to install piston rings. Ring compressors is what we use to install the pistons into the block. Okay, like I said, we'll look into that more in module 4 when we get to that particular section. We do have other type of tools that we have available. Valve spring compressors, hole gauges, which probably next video I will do a demo. I do have a cylinder head that we actually will do a demo and removing a valve from a cylinder head and kind of show you how to do the valve stem to guide clearance measurements as well. Okay. We've got a crack detection system. That one I'll probably do a demo next time as well, okay, at the shop there, because that's kind of important to know. Anytime we have a warp head, we need to check for cracks on it. Check for warpage. We'll show you how to do that with a straight edge. The 5 spots that you're going to look at doing, I'll go ahead and demo that for you guys. Flywheel turner tool, of course we know what that is already. Anytime we have an engine on the engine stand and we need to rotate that engine, and we don't have any means of doing it in the front half of the engine, we do it with the flywheel turner tool in the back. Okay. We also have a stethoscope, which is widely used, especially when we get ready to listen for noises, engine mechanical, knocking noises, ticking noises, clunking noises. We use that quite a bit in the field. Number punching, we use those anytime we identify the connecting rod to the piston ring cap. So we're looking at staking it on 2 sections on one side of it, and that's to identify and know where that particular connecting rod and piston came from. We cannot interchange and mix pistons to a different cylinder. They wear in that particular type of cylinder wear, and if we do that, we're going to have an engine vibration because of it. Okay, so that's punches on that one. Cylinder head stands, we do have those available to support the cylinder head when we move the valve springs completely off, to redo any type of valve lapping or grinding adjustments, or hole gauge measurements of the telescoping gauge, which, like I said, I will demo that next time for you guys this week. It'll be this week, by the way. Next, probably for Wednesday's type of lecture, you will have a demo on that. So we have that available that we're going to be looking at doing. Scrapers and brushes, valve grinders. We do have those available. Of course, compression tests and all the different types of engine mechanical tests that we've used. You had actually got a chance to use in Module 2 before spring break. So those are widely used. Of course, a remote starter switch is your best friend, to help you start the engine or crank the motor, to adjust the timing or to check for compression. Okay, so we'll look at getting that done as well. Next thing is on micrometers. Pay particular attention on the micrometers on my PowerPoint, and also on page 59/61. Okay, as we get ready to do some miking, we're going to show you some mics. I will demo some micrometer readings and kind of show you how to do that. Kind of reiterate what you learned in your intro class. The other thing, of course, we will do a straight edge, looking at straight edge adjustments and measurements on cylinder heads. Okay, and then on chapter 3, understand and know and look at my PowerPoints on that one again, and go into the bolts. We'll take you back with some of the students that have me for intro on the bolts, and some of the things that we need to know on the bolts, which is one, we need to know the 5 different things, right? We need to know what the type of bolt it is, the strength, the length, the diameter, and the pitch. So we will be looking at getting that again, kind of taking you back to your intro days. But understand that we do have these fasteners, and we do go through them quite a bit. And you will be required to fix nuts and bolts with a tap or a die, depending on what type of situation you have. Of course, the die is going to be covering the bolts, and the tap's going to be covering the nuts or internal threads. So we need to make sure that we have the proper tools for that. And again, I'll do a little demo of that for you next time. I want you guys to kind of be safe. Look at what we have for this week online, and we'll look to see you on Wednesday. Now take care and be safe.